Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to share a thought, a suggestion that I've never actually heard suggested in a church before, to my knowledge. And it's not a biblical command, right? However, we as Christians are trying to find practical ways to make our everyday faithfulness easier, and this might be one for you to consider. And that is, try to live as close to the church building or wherever your church meets as you possibly can. So I grew up on the same street, well, pretty much the same street as the church building. We could get in our car, we could go 4 minutes down the road, and we would be there. And I kind of took that for granted. I didn't realize how big of a blessing that was. It wasn't until I got married and I moved to a different part of town, and then it took about 20 minutes to get to the church building. And it was more difficult. You know, when you're further away, I think it becomes easier to make excuses about why you can't make it, or I can remember a couple times after worship, the youth group maybe wanted to go do something like play volleyball, and I didn't have clothes. So I would have to drive 20 minutes back to the house, drive 20 minutes back, and sometimes I just didn't feel like doing that, right? So sometimes I wouldn't fellowship as much because I lived further away, and it was more drive time, more commute time. I now live, once again, on the same street as where my church meets. I actually can walk there in about 5 minutes. But I've been traveling the last 2 months, and particularly in this month, I've been visiting Athens, Greece. And there's a church here, but I have to take one of the subway lines all the way to the end of the line to get there. And on a Sunday, it takes about 50 minutes to an hour. And I've been reminded of how much more difficult it is to go meet with the saints when I'm so much further away. Because you think about that, that's 2 hours of commute time there and back. And although I haven't intentionally missed worship or any of the fellowships of the church, I found that my mind automatically starts to try to form excuses as to maybe why I don't need to go. Because it's harder, right? It's more of a commitment to go. And I realize that an hour commute is nothing to some people. You know, some people have to walk for an hour, or they have to go for 2 hours and ride a train. There's a family at the church that 2 hours on the train to get there one way. Right? But I just found it to be, it's easier to excuse yourself when the journey is more difficult. And you're probably not going to be able to participate in everything that the church is doing if you're that far away because of, various daily schedules. If the church does something throughout the week, it might just not be possible for you to get there in time. So when we're thinking about buying homes as members of a congregation, think about buying or renting someplace close to your church, because the closer you are, there's a very good chance the more involved you're going to be. The more involved you're going to be, the better relationships that you're going to have with your church family, better relationships probably that you're going to have with God as a result of continual fellowship with the church. And the church is going to be stronger, and you're going to be stronger because of it. Now, I know that's not always possible, especially in the current housing market where houses are ridiculously expensive. We don't always have a choice as to where we live. Maybe we can't afford to live near our church. Again, it's not a biblical command, but as we try to think about the daily choices that we can make to live out our Christian lives and to make it easier on ourselves and to avoid the temptation of not assembling with the saints, this might be one to think about. And so I just wanted to suggest it because I've never heard anyone say, hey, if you're in the housing market or whatever, look close to the building so that you can be a faithful member here. So if that's you and you fall into that category, or that will be you in a couple years, when you're considering the school district that the house is in, the taxes that the house is in, the price of the house, how many bedrooms you're getting, along with all those factors, make sure that the location in regards to the church and how that's going to affect your attendance at the church is high on that priority list. All right, that's all I wanted to say. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'll talk to you guys later.